Hey everybody, my name is Cameron Dunn. I'm Assistant Vice President for In-Building Solutions at AT&T. And for the last 25 years of my career at AT&T, Wi-Fi has weaved itself in and out of my job responsibilities, especially when it pertained to managing mobility inter-carrier services, product development, service development, et cetera. But it hasn't been until recently in my role as In-Building Solutions that Wi-Fi has crystallized as being a critical technology for what I'm responsible for and what we're trying to achieve in the in-building space. So what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes to talk about what our goals are in the in-building space and what my team's responsible for, and then where we see the intersection and the opportunity for Wi-Fi. Talk a little bit about Wi-Fi roaming, which is under my purview as well, and expanding our passpoint footprint and how that builds the foundation for our services, and then show some value that we have had with these investment strategies that incorporate Wi-Fi into our in-building space. So first off, my team's mission statement is very simple. It's providing AT&T subscribers with excellent in-building access through the creation and support of best cost structures. And we do that through three focal points. And the first critical focal point for us is making sure that we create, enhance, and modify our investment strategies for the in-building space as market dynamics change, fluctuate, as well as our objectives change and fluctuate. It's very important for us as an organization to make sure that we understand where the different verticals are for in-building. A tier one space, say a major stadium, major transit, will have different financials and different metrics than, say, a small casino in the Midwest. But we're responsible for all of them. And we need to make sure that we have investment strategies that provide AT&T the best cost structures, dependent on the types of venues and the factors that venues inhibit. Second, my team is responsible for the negotiation and the management of the contracts, as well as the vendor management for these in-building solutions, regardless of what type of solution it is. AT&T leases its in-building space and in-building solutions, as well as owns its own, and my team is responsible for both sides of that equation. We manage the leases and the expense going out. We also manage the revenues that come in to offset expense for those systems that we decide to build and deploy ourselves. But lastly, and most applicable in the context of this meeting and this presentation, is the alternative technologies. My team under Sean Bausman is responsible for exploring, ideating, and implementing alternative technologies that allow us to have more alternatives in the in-building space to both improve customer experience and have cost-effective alternatives to the traditional expensive systems that we've had for the last decade plus. So that's what we do, and our bread and butter is distributed antenna systems, or DASs, in both leased and an owned representation in the marketplace. We have thousands of venues that our team is responsible for managing, both new and existing, and the vast majority of those have DAS systems involved. Now, as I mentioned, we have a tiered structure. We had to base that so that we could apply that to our investment strategy for in-building. And with tier ones, think major stadiums again, major transit hubs, major convention centers, places that we have to be and that our competitors have to be in the marketplace. Those typically need distributed antenna systems all day long to be effective technology solutions. So we manage the economics, we manage the deployment, we manage the strategy for those tier one solutions. But because of legacy investment strategies of the past, where coverage as quickly as possible at any expense was kind of the rule of the day, we have ended up with expensive distributed antenna systems throughout our entire existing and building portfolio, including the smaller tier 2 and tier 3 venues. Now, as I mentioned in our investment strategy focus, we try to, and we are striving to, enhance and modify that investment strategy to make more financial sense. Now it's more about, is there a financial business case? Is there financial viability for AT&T to be at that venue? What type of architecture matches that financial viability? And then we go execute on it. And that's where the alternative technologies come in. Our team's managing CBRS and neutral host deployments and exploring where there are opportunities with CBRS to help us drive to more venue-funded constructs where the venue contributes and AT&T brings its subscribers into that scenario. But we're also heavily invested in Wi-Fi. Now, as mentioned, my team is responsible for expanding AT&T's Wi-Fi footprint nationally. And we do that predominantly, and we have been doing that predominantly in Wi-Fi roaming. Melody Eclevea was on my team. She's recently retired. She did an excellent job in helping lay the groundwork and framework to build on our Wi-Fi footprint through Wi-Fi roaming access, as well as managing all the operational puts and takes that's needed to support that construct. And now Sean Bausman's picked up the torch for Melody. We also are focused on AT&T-owned Wi-Fi opportunities, especially in the in-building space. In the in-building space, when we do go after a site that we want to potentially own, oftentimes that site also has Wi-Fi married with DAS as being the opportunity for someone to win that RFP or to win that business. And so it's important for us to make sure that we marry DAS with Wi-Fi opportunities in those types of venues that we want to pursue commercially. And lastly, I want to give a shout out because we just recently signed a number of agreements about decentralized physical infrastructure networks or DPIN networks, which are also, we believe, going to provide us the incremental ability to increase our Wi-Fi footprint even more. And we're starting to see some dividends already pay off with those relationships in terms of expanding our Wi-Fi footprint. Now, with Wi-Fi, and as with any technology, there are obviously challenges / opportunities. And I have on this slide a convergence challenge. Now, convergence is a great buzzword, and it means a number of key things and a number of key verticals. What I mean by convergence here is convergence of the best available networks in a particular physical location at a given time. And really the convergence of Wi-Fi and RAN, especially in the in-building space. We want to make sure that our customers are always on the best available network possible, but we also know that there are some hurdles, especially with quality of service and with steering, that need to be overcome. And so that's what I want to talk about, the Wi-Fi being a key pillar for in-building in our strategy. So starting from the 9 o'clock position on the best network. So our North Star, our holy grail that we want to get to is to have the AT&T subscriber always on the best available network at any given point of time in any given physical location. And I'm obviously focused on in-building myself, but this is anywhere nationally where there's the ability to have service. And to have that key customer experience, we know that we need to have and overcome some challenges on the technology architecture roadmap for Wi-Fi and for RAN for that matter, and for the core. So number one, we need to know and have the data real time for quality metrics. And the quality metrics need to be for the available networks, including Wi-Fi, so that then that can feed into a steering-like platform. And I use the word steering because I come from intercarrier and roaming services. I did a large stint in there. And in that capacity, we developed and deployed services that would allow for traffic steering for AT&T outbound roamers using international and domestic networks. And so I think about the same drivers for economical, high-quality networks for quality steering between whatever network is available at the time. And we know that that needs to be enhanced and developed for Wi-Fi and RAN. And then lastly, making sure that Wi-Fi continues to progress in its technology roadmap itself for allowing for enhanced capacity and enhanced coverage. And things like Wi-Fi 7, we are strong advocates for as it pursues and grows in terms of its technical capability. And then lastly, for enhancing those capabilities, we need strategic partnerships to help drive those technology roadmaps that meet our business objectives. And this is a shout out to the Wireless Broadband Alliance and Network X and the forums where all of you who participate in those forums, along with ourselves, help drive to those common goals and see the value and use cases like our in-building use case where having quality metrics and having the ability to steer dynamically without the customer knowing is critical for the whole ecosystem. And that allows us to provide for cost-effective methods for in-building solutions. Now, the last slide I want to show you is some of the success, and this is bragging on both my team as well as the WBA in general, you'll see the hockey stick going from left to right, and you'll see it cratering in the right direction. Commiserate with the bar graphs that are going up, with the exponential growth in Wi-Fi usage that's generated off now it's north of 13,000 hotspots that have for AT&T subscribers. And that number is going to continue to grow exponentially. We're hyper-focused on it. And that's building the foundation for us to continue to have the accessibility of these Wi-Fi networks, which in turn will even make it more critical for these network technology advancements to be part of the ecosystem. But this was possible because the WBA and because AT&T had a maniacal focus on making improvements incremental into the Wi-Fi space. And from the in-building perspective, I want to thank everyone that's been in the Wireless Broadband Alliance and has helped contribute to that. So in conclusion, I'll say that when my team evaluates all in-building deals, every single one, starting last year when I took the role, one of the critical items that we always ask the venue is there Wi-Fi there? And if there's not Wi-Fi, why not? And what can we do to incent you, the venue, to deploy Wi-Fi? And in those cases where Wi-Fi is present, do you have Passpoint? And if not, why not? And provide incentive and details and education as to why Passpoint's critical for that customer experience, not just for an AT&T customer, for the customer of that venue. And so it's just another example of where we see the value of Wi-Fi, where we want to make sure that Wi-Fi is thought of when you think about in-building. And thank you very much for your time. I hope you all have a great rest of your conference. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be around for the rest of the day in the conference, and I'd love to talk with you. Thanks, everybody.